Time travel may sound like the stuff of science fiction, but there is one place in the world where it really happens. No machines, no portals, no tricks. There, while neighboring countries are already living the next day, the residents are still in the day before. It's as if this corner of the Pacific has been trapped in time, earning it the curious nickname of the island of the past. But that's not the only reason Niue stands out. Isolated, mysterious, and full of peculiar stories, this island holds surprises that go far beyond its position on the map. Today, Bello Mundo takes you to discover what makes this little piece of the world one of the most unique places on the planet. Number 1. Location and geographical data. In the middle of the South Pacific, between Tonga, Samoa, and the Cook Islands, there is a small territory that surprises both for its geography and its isolation, known worldwide as Niue Island. Approximately 2,400 kilometers from New Zealand, this island has an area of 260 square kilometers, and a unique detail. It is the largest raised coral atoll in the world. This means that, unlike the classic Polynesian islands full of white sand beaches and calm lagoons, this formation is a massive block of limestone. Its coastline is lined with imposing cliffs, coastal caves, and natural pools of unbelievable blue. The walls of fossilized coral, sculpted by time, create dramatic scenes that seem to come from another planet. And interestingly, there are no rivers or lakes here. All the water used by the population comes from rain or underground aquifers that naturally filter the moisture trapped in the rocks. This lack of waterways means that the surrounding sea is absurdly transparent, with breathtaking visibility. For this reason, the island is a true paradise for divers and those who love the wilderness. The capital, Alofi, is the only city on the island, but in practice, it's more like a quiet village. It is divided into two parts, Alofi North and Alofi South, and is home to a population of barely 2,000. So forget traffic, horns, or crowds. The pace of life is peaceful, and it's no exaggeration to say that tranquility reigns here. In fact, one detail makes this even more evident. There isn't even a traffic light on the island. Number 2. History. The history of this small territory in the Pacific is full of peculiarities. The first inhabitants arrived around the year 900 BC from Samoa and Tonga. Over time, they developed their own culture and lived in villages scattered around the island. It wasn't until 1774 that a European saw its shores for the first time. And who was it? It was none other than Captain James Cook, the famous British explorer responsible for mapping large areas of the Pacific. But unlike other islands where he managed to disembark without much difficulty, here the reception was quite different. Cook tried to set foot on land 3 times and was expelled each time. The natives, painted red and armed, did everything they could to keep the visitors away. Faced with fierce resistance, the navigator gave up and recorded the place on his maps as Wild Island. Years later, Christian missionaries landed and converted the population to Christianity around the year 1846. This legacy continues to this day, with churches scattered throughout the territory and a strong bond between the community and the religion. Another curious episode took place in 1887 when the local king himself wrote a letter to Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom, asking for the island to be placed under British protection. The initial response was a resounding no, but after some insistence, New Zealand took control in 1901, making the territory part of its administration. This link remained until 1974, when the long-awaited political autonomy came. Since then, the government has been independent for internal affairs, but maintains a relationship of free association with New Zealand, guaranteeing financial support and assistance in strategic areas. Number 3. Economy. Niue has no major industries, no oil fields, and no population to support a strong domestic market. So how does this small country sustain itself? The answer comes from 3 main pillars. Tourism, support from New Zealand and local production. Tourism plays a fundamental role. Despite being a little explored destination, Niue attracts visitors looking for exotic and unspoiled places. Those who arrive find incredible landscapes and a warm welcome. The facilities for tourists are simple but welcoming, and direct flights from Auckland in New Zealand make it easy to reach the island. Niue also receives financial support from the New Zealand government, as the 2 countries have a free association relationship. This support ranges from investments in infrastructure to essential public services, guaranteeing the basic functioning of the island. Even without large farms or factories, Niue still has active local production. Agriculture and fishing are important sources of income, with exports of taro, coconut, fresh fish, and a rather peculiar product, honey. Niue's bees are considered some of the healthiest in the world, free from disease and pesticides, which makes their honey a prized item on the international market. The most incredible thing is that, thanks to this combination of tourism, plus external support, plus local production, Niue has managed to zero out its foreign debts. A very rare and noteworthy case. Number 4. Culture and language. Here, tradition is serious business. Polynesian culture remains strong, with villages where everyone knows each other. Hospitality runs wild, and traditions are passed down from generation to generation. These range from typical recipes to pandanus weaving, a craft that brings together the island's ladies in sessions called fufu. Religion also plays a huge role. Since the missionaries landed here in the 19th century, Christianity has become an essential part of everyday life. Village festivals and church events are not just moments of faith, they are the community's meeting point. But perhaps the greatest symbol of local identity is the language, Niuean, also called Vagahau Niue. It is related to Samoan and Tongan, and despite being one of the official languages along with English, it is in serious danger of extinction. And there's a clear reason for this. People are leaving. Today, most Niueans live off the island, especially in New Zealand. To give you an idea, in 2018, around 30,000 people of Niuean origin lived there, while just over 1,600 remained in their homeland. The result? The new generation is growing up speaking English, and little by little, Vagahau Niue is being left behind. The New Zealand government and community leaders have mobilized to prevent this from happening. Schools teach the language, cultural weeks are promoted, and even New Zealand has joined the mission, supporting projects to keep the language alive. The struggle is great, but so is the hope. Number 5. The record number of parliamentarians per capita. If you think your country has too many politicians, wait until you see this. Here, the Legislative Assembly has 20 elected members. Now, do the math. With just over 1,600 inhabitants, that's one parliamentarian for every 80 people. That's right, it's one of the highest rates of political representation on the planet. But calm down, it's not that bloated public machine. The system was designed to ensure that all 14 villages have a voice and that the other seats are chosen by general vote. In other words, the idea is that no one is left unrepresented. And the most curious thing, politics here, as the young people would say, is straight talk. Forget bureaucracy and formalities. If someone wants to complain about something, they don't even need to send an email. Just drop by the nearest MP's house and sort it out face to face. Number 6. Tourism, hidden paradises and adventures. If you like exotic and little explored destinations, this one is a real hidden treasure. Despite being tiny on the map, the island offers breathtaking landscapes and experiences that few places in the world can offer. But there's one thing. Forget those classic white sand beaches. The coastline here is different, full of rock formations and secret coves that form natural pools with crystal clear waters. And it is precisely this unique geography that makes the surrounding sea such a spectacle. Divers will find a veritable natural water park with absurd visibility and a scenery full of labyrinths of submerged caves, corals, and rocky walls. Spots like the Matapa Chasm, a flooded canyon with translucent waters, and the Talava Arches, impressive stone arches on the coast, guarantee postcard-worthy clicks. And if swimming among colorful fish sounds incredible, imagine doing it with dolphins or even whales. Yes, that's right. From June to October, the giant humpbacks pass by and come so close to the shore that you can see them without needing a boat. With the right operator, you can even dive close to them for a surreal and unforgettable experience. Oh, and spinner dolphins, who love to jump and play, also make an appearance to make the scene even more special. And when night falls, the show goes on. Far from any light pollution, the starry sky here is simply surreal. So much so that in 2020, the island became the world's first dark sky country, guaranteeing total preservation of nocturnal darkness so that the stars shine at their best. There are even guided night tours to admire the Milky Way in its purest form. Now, seriously, how has such a place not yet been taken over by mass tourism? Number 7. Prison on the golf course. Crime is rare here, which is to be expected. With a small population and a community where practically everyone knows each other, major crimes are practically non-existent. But when someone does cross the line, it's an unusual fate, to say the least. The island's only prison, which, by one of those ironies of fate, is right next to the golf course. That's right. The local jail is located right next to the island's only golf course in Alofi. And don't think of a luxurious club like the ones we see in big cities. It's a simple space, but it still has a green, which is what golfers call the area of the course where the final hole is, usually with well-trimmed grass to allow for precise shots. It is said that the few guests at the prison end up helping to keep the green impeccable, pruning the grass and looking after the course during the day, while at night they sleep locked in their cells. For this reason, the prison has earned a curious nickname, Hilton, a play on the famous luxury hotel chain. Because, let's face it, being locked up in a tropical paradise and still playing sport isn't exactly the greatest of punishments. In fact, legend has it that an ex-convict, after serving his sentence, spent so much time perfecting his shots that he ended up becoming the island's golf champion. Truth or exaggeration? Hard to say. Number 8. Unusual guests. It may sound like something out of a surreal tale, but yes, there has been an elephant here. In 2015, an Asian elephant called Anjali was flown to the island. The reason? She needed to go through a period of quarantine before being transferred to Auckland Zoo in New Zealand. And for a short time, Niue had an illustrious four-legged resident who definitely didn't fit in with the local landscape. But this wasn't the only eccentric visitor. Between 2018 and 2019, Another unexpected animal became a celebrity. A duck. Yes, a duck. Nobody knows for sure how it ended up on the island. Some say it was carried by a storm, others think it came hidden on a ship. But the fact is that this solitary mallard appeared out of nowhere and became the center of attention. With no others of its kind around, it lived in a puddle of water by the side of the road, which the local firemen filled regularly to ensure its well-being. The animal became so famous that it was even given a name, Trevor, in honor of a New Zealand politician called Trevor Mallard. Locals and tourists took pictures, children came to visit him, and he officially became the loneliest duck in the world. Unfortunately, Trevor's life was short. In 2019, he was attacked by dogs and didn't survive. But his story traveled the world and even inspired a children's book. Not bad for a duck lost in the middle of the Pacific, eh? Number 9. First country with free Wi-Fi. Who would have thought that a little island in the middle of nowhere would be a pioneer in the digital age? Well, in 2003, Niue became the first country in the world to offer free wireless internet to its entire population. And we're talking about a time when Wi-Fi was still in its infancy and only existed in a few cafes and offices in the rest of the world. The idea came from a local non-profit organization, which used funds obtained from the island's internet domain to finance the installation of the wireless network. The project was revolutionary at the time and helped connect the population to the rest of the planet, cementing the island's title as Wi-Fi Nation even before many big cities thought of offering public Wi-Fi. Of course, the connection here isn't the fastest, but the initiative put the island at the digital forefront, and to this day, free access is part of residents' daily lives. Number 10. Country of the past. After all this, the question remains, why is this isolated piece of the Pacific called the island of the past? The answer lies in its peculiar geographical position. The international date line cuts across the planet, separating the time zones between today and tomorrow. On one side, countries are already living in the future. On the other, it's still the day before. And guess what? This place is on the late side of the line. While neighboring New Zealand has already welcomed a new day, people there are still living the day before. If it's Tuesday in Auckland, for example, it's still Monday in this corner of the Pacific. This difference makes it one of the last places in the world to say goodbye to the sun. And the most curious thing is that anyone who takes a flight from New Zealand to Niue literally lands the day before. It sounds like science fiction, but it's just a geographical detail that makes this destination even more unique. That's why it has earned the title of the Island of the Past, a place where time seems to slow down and yesterday stretches on a little longer. Now tell me, what surprised you the most? The fact that Niue is one of the last places on the planet to see the sunset, the prison next to the golf course, or the story of the world's loneliest duck? If you enjoyed this content, you already know. Leave a like, subscribe to Bello Mundo, and activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you on our next adventure.